So that is simply how you create a database using SSMS. The other item is to create a database using TSQL, which as I mentioned is known as Transact SQL. So what you do is you use a command called create database command. Here is a basic syntax. So let us go down this list. Quite a few flags in here. Don't be alarmed. It's not really rocket science. You use create database command. Then you actually give it the name of the database. Okay, and then you use the word on. Okay, and now if you look, we are basically separating the two parts. This part up here has to do with the data file, and this part here has to do with a log file. They look very similar, so I'll just cover this one maybe. Here it mentions this is the logical name for the log file. Okay, this is physical location, which in our case we just saw the C drive, initial file size in MB, and then maximum file size in MB, which is megabytes, and then file growth, which is a parameter using either % or MB. And like I mentioned, you do want to use MB as a preferred method. I will say that one more item in here as far as size. Let's say you anticipate the database to be quite large with lots of information. It is much better to create space for it in the beginning instead of starting out with a small database and you let SQL Server manage the space. So in other words, you should put some consideration into it and do some planning and come up with a better estimate for creating this database. So for this one, we are going to create an HR database, and I already have a script ready to go. So again, I am going to switch to Management Studio and load up a script. So in order to load the script, you go to File, Open, File. You can also do Control O, okay, or my favorite is just clicking on this icon, and it is going to bring up your C drive. We already have this ready to do its magic. And real quickly, if you see, you have the by the way, you always use master database to create a new database, as that is the heart of SQL Server that controls a lot of this information. So we have to do that. Then like I mentioned, we just use the syntax create database. Name of our database is HR. This again, if you're paying attention, is our data file information, and this is our log information. Okay, and I have everything in here ready to go. As far as executing code in SQL Server, you just highlight the part that you would like to execute, and then you can either hit F5 or this little exclamation button over here. And now if we did this right, it should go ahead and create an HR database, and you'll notice the confirmation down here, commands completed successfully. Now if you notice, we still do not see an HR database in here, and this is one of those things in SQL Server that you will get used to. You have to right click wherever you are and then select good old refresh. Okay, when I do that, you should see HR pop right here. Okay, so that was that. There are a few other vital database commands that I would like to mention. You have alter database, which basically modifies a database files or file groups associated with a DB. You have the sp help DB command, which gives you some basic information on a database. You have a drop database command that deletes a database. You have to make sure that everyone is out of the database before you can execute this. And then finally, we have the I included the excellent site that, if you're not aware of, is msdn.microsoft.com. So let me copy that, go to my browser, and this is just our site, but Let me open up a new tab, paste that in there. This is an awesome resource for a lot of the SQL. So let's say that you were trying to play around with alter database command. Okay, you could obviously Google it, you know, which is what I do. But if you wanted to go to, you know, go to the horse's mouth, which is Microsoft, then you can get this information from them, okay, from their site. So I think the one database I will mention, or the command I will mention, is the alter database. If we go back to our management studio, by the way, you can do Control R. So the way I did that is, let me just write that down. Hold the Control key and then the R key. clears the screen like that. But as far as alter database command, I am going to we have our college, actually, let me see, our school database, I guess. And then I am going to alter that database, and I am going to create the recovery model to be simple. Okay, so again, you highlight this part. As far as if you want to check the model, let me right click on here, go to properties, options. You'll notice that the recovery model right now is set to full. Okay. By the way, I didn't mention this, but there are a lot of other parameters that you can look at. I basically want to keep things simple. We will cover some of these topics later in separate videos, but for now, just know that the recovery model is full, and I'm going to highlight this and execute this one. Okay, it said commands completed successfully now. So that is what I wanted to cover about databases. Moving on, we are going to switch gears and start working with database tables next. So really, in SQL Server or any really database platform like Oracle or MySQL, tables are, and as you can see, my English isn't the best and my typing is even worse, but tables are the building blocks and storage of data in SQL Server. A relational database has several tables, each catering to a particular subject or entity. So this is a typical database. So for example, you may have a like I mentioned, a sales database, and you may have a customer table. Within that table, we should have everything related to the customer. So things like a customer ID, their name, their address, maybe what kind of division do they have, things of that nature. Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, a table is really made up of two things. Okay, you have the fields, so these contain particular information on a specific item. So an example I have in here is social security number, right? You go to a doctor's office, first thing they would like to know is, what is your social security number? Or you may have a customer database and you may be looking at a customer ID column, right? Now, related to this is the next item, which is the records and the rows. These really are a complete instance of one item. Okay, so you may be looking at a particular record for a specific customer, or if you are, like I said, a hospital, you may be looking at a particular patient record. Okay, so as far as creating tables in SQL Server 2012, just like a database, you have multiple methods of doing this. Okay, you have the SSMS, you have Transact SQL, and then you have the template browser, right? We are basically going to create the following two tables. We are going to create a teachers table. We will be using SSMS to do that, and then we are going to create a students table using SQL command.